After dying of fall damage, sometimes the hurt sound keeps playing repeatedly.
Alex? Alex!
This is because of a brush entity called trigger_hurt. Normally, in the source engine, the trigger will stop trying to apply damage to the player after the player has died. But for some reason, in Half-Life Alyx, this trigger is still continually being activated by the dead player.
Alex? Alex!
This glitch isn't possible when using teleport movement, and can only be done with continuous movement, which wasn't actually added until the very end of the game's development, so they probably didn't have any time to playtest it thoroughly.
Alex?
If the developers did know about this bug, they were probably planning on fixing it on an engine level later, like what was done in Counter-Strike 2. But to this day, they still haven't fixed it. If you close this gate, it can never be opened again. This leaves the player trapped here and forced to load an old save. After this headcrab comes out of this vent, you can make the vent door disappear by interacting with it too much. There are 2 pigeons on this balcony, but if you keep walking and make it to this door, and then you go back to look at the balcony again, you'll see this NPC. If you pick up the sign and get on top of it, you can teleport onto the balcony. This bypasses the trigger that makes this NPC run into the house. If you press up on the right joystick, you can mantle onto objects. But if you teleport while mantling, the game will teleport you and then bring you back to where you started. This can be used to temporarily get out of the map. If you use this glitch on a changelevel trigger, you will be sent to the position you started in, but in the next map. This will put you out of the map permanently. There are many tutorial tips that appear in-game that go away when you complete the tip, but if you choose to ignore these tips, they never go away, and you can see them from across the map.
Wait, I just live here!
Probable anti-citizen. Get out here now!
Wait, don't shoot!
It really surprises me that they never discovered this during playtesting, because there had to have been some playtesters who got past the trip mine by limboing under it in VR. If you choose not to put on the headset, you get some interesting dialogue from Russel. Many people know about the dead rat with glitchy ragdoll physics, but what you probably don't know is that if you save and load while holding the rat with both hands, the rat will be stretched to wherever the player's hands are during loading. For this load, I put my left-hand controller on the ground in the corner of my room. If you throw objects into Russel's secret door while it's opening, they get deleted.
Wait, my drone's okay.
Nope, it exploded.
Normally, when you try to teleport to a spot that would kill Alyx, you hear this dialogue.
I'd never survive a jump from this height.
No, absolutely not. Why, were you considering it?
But if you get to a spot like this before getting Russel's headset, you hear a different dialogue.
Nope. That'll kill me. Nope. I don't think so.
At this part of the game, you can see this guy with a red shirt. If you go through this garage normally, he disappears. But if you go over this fence in the garage, he won't disappear. If you save and load in front of this merry-go-round, it will start spinning. It always spins in the direction that it was last spinning in, so if I move it clockwise and then save and load, it will spin clockwise. There's nothing stopping the player from going out of the map here, and if you do, you'll find this weird blue laser coming from out of the ground. If you follow the laser back to where it's coming from, you'll see that it's actually coming from the last part of the previous map. There are a few parts of the game where you can find this weird type of box. You can't use the gravity gloves on it, but you can pick it up. It's impossible to throw the box. It always falls out of Alyx's hand. This box also has really weird physics. Some objects, like barrels, will not collide with the player's head, but will collide with the player's feet. This box, however, seems to be the only object in the game that collides with the player's head and not the player's feet. If you teleport while holding an object too close to the ground, the object will lose collision with the world and have a red glow around it. If you save and load while the object is still in the wall, it will now have a blue glow around the object. There are a few of these carts in the game. They can't be picked up because they're designed to be pushed. But if you push one onto a ragdoll, the ragdoll physics start to glitch. This can also be done with the pallet jack. If you try to get rid of an important item, the game usually teleports the item back to where it came from, or there will be invisible walls for the item. But there are a number of instances in which you can get an item permanently stuck. In this map, you can take this wheel handle and just chuck it over this wall to get it stuck. At this part of the game, you can get rid of these pipes by throwing them down this hole, and they're supposed to respawn into this bucket, but for some reason, if you get rid of 2 or more at the same time, they won't respawn. Doing this doesn't technically softlock you though, since you can still easily get the shotgun without the pipes. Before ringing this bell, you can see the vortigaunt through this door. He just stands perfectly still looking back at you. Also outside this door, there are these weird floating things that move away from the player's hand when you touch them. You can get the battery out of this area without ever having to open this door or fight the armored headcrabs. You just have to pause and unpause the game while holding the battery to move it through the fence. Normally, if you look at the dead zombie with a shotgun, you hear Alyx say this.
Oh, that zombie has a shotgun.
But if you avoid looking at the zombie before getting the shotgun, she can say her lines out of order.
Got it. Oh. That zombie has a shotgun.
There's also another way you can break this part of the game. If you stack a bunch of objects in this room, you can get the shotgun without solving the physics puzzle.
Got it.
Hurry up and load that thing, it's getting louder.
But if you remove this PVC pipe and lower the dead zombie, the scripted sequence plays out of order.
Yeah. Let's get this shotgun and get out of here.
You can pick up the flashlight without attaching it to the gravity glove. After picking it up, you won't be able to drop it unless you pause and unpause. If you don't equip the flashlight, the poison headcrabs won't spawn in this room yet, and there will be an invisible wall at the start of this tunnel. But if you bring some barrels with you, you can stack them to get out of this area through the top. If you try to get through the rest of the game like this, there will be another invisible wall.
Too dark. You'll need a flashlight.
I think you're right. Oh, thank God.
Doing this also skips Russell's club sandwich dialogue. This handrail has a weird teleport icon. It's the same icon that you would see when climbing a ladder or making a long jump, but if you teleport onto it, it doesn't do anything. If you stay in this room, Russell keeps repeating the same dialogue over and over.
The override has to be outside, Alyx. Hurry! The override has to be outside, Alyx. Hurry! The override has to be outside, Alyx. Hurry!
If you leave this room by going out of this window instead of the door you're supposed to go out of, Russell will not shut up for the rest of the map.
The override has to be outside, Alyx. Hurry!
The train does not collide with physics objects.
The override has to be outside, Alyx. Hurry! The override has to be outside, Alyx. Hurry!
If you pick up this door with both hands and then move around, you can take it with you.
The override has to be outside, Alyx. Hurry!
If you take it all the way to the next map, it turns into a normal physics object, but with an error on it. If you save up all of your resin from the beginning of the game, you can get the grenade launcher upgrade a bit early. I don't think the developers intended for the player to have a grenade this early in the game. If you save this grenade until the first time you see Eli, you can shoot a grenade at Eli, which breaks this sequence.
Alyx fans, I have come to help, as I said I would.
Thank you. Thank you. Just stay there. I'm gonna figure out how to get over to you.
No! Alyx, listen! The thing Russell and I found is some sort of super weapon.
A super weapon?
It's something big. They got it here in the QZ in some kind of vault, but they're about to move it.
Developer commentary nodes will collide with physics objects. If you feed one to a barnacle, his tongue will get stretched out. But if you put one directly into a barnacle's mouth, the barnacle will eat it. This will permanently remove that node from the map. If you take a developer commentary node into a new map, it will respawn wherever it was in the old map. This will usually put it outside of the map. You can change Alyx's dialogue at this part of the game if you avoid looking at the stairs. Normally, if you look at the stairs, she says this.
And the stairs are out.
Let's try and get that power back on.
And then if you go to the breaker room, she says this.
Here we go. Breaker boxes.
But if you avoid looking at the stairs and just go straight to the breaker room, she says this.
Ooh, breaker boxes. Let's go back to the elevator plan. I'm gonna get the power back on.
If you teleport too fast through this part, the reviver never stops making noise in the vent.
You see that? Russell? Oh, that's not good. Russell.
Alyx, come in.
Normally when you break glass, it makes a sound. But if you save the game before breaking glass and then load that save, the glass won't make any sound. If you go to the accessibility options, you can turn on single controller mode. This option is useful for people with disabilities or for people who only have one controller. But if you still have your other controller connected, this hand will still be in the game, it'll just be invisible. You can't grab any objects or use the gravity glove like this, but you can still knock objects around with this hand. If you save the game with one hand and then switch back to two-handed controls, you can load the one-handed save and you'll be able to grab objects with your invisible hand. Another interesting thing happens when you save the game with two hands, then switch to one-handed controls, and then load the two-handed save. Your non-dominant hand will be invisible, except for the resin tracker. You also can't grab objects or use the gravity gloves like this. At this part of the game, you're supposed to throw a grenade into this room to unlock this door.
Yes.
Nice throw.
But if you stack some boxes, you can crawl through the vent to get into this room. The zombie in this room will not attack you, even if you provoke him. The lock on this door cannot be broken, no matter how many times you shoot it. The only thing that can break this lock is an explosion. Headcrabs cannot go through the elevator door in the Northern Star. The lamps in this room have really weird physics when you use the gravity gloves on them. If you try to take one through this window, it will become impossible to drop the lamp. If you save and load the game like this, the lamp will be floating around your hands. When you teleport through this window, you can see this random yellow dot appear way across the map. If you walk around while holding this window panel, you can take it with you. If you try to take it to the next map, it disappears. If you feed it to a barnacle, it will be stuck in place. This will also cause the game to crash if you go any further in the map like this. After this vortigaunt is done talking, he disappears. This elevator can be sent down without you being in it.
We're putting a lot of trust in that vortigaunt to shut down all the substations.
I trust him.
Yes, me too. Because if he doesn't, well, that vault isn't going anywhere, and we'll be standing there with no vault to break into, surrounded by
Normally, if you walk off an edge while holding the teleport button, the screen fades to a dark red and you die.
Alex? Alex!
But if you teleport at the last moment before you die, you'll still be alive, but the entire game looks dark red. The only thing you can see in this state is the yellow teleport marker. If you put your head through this window, you can see outside of the map. There's nothing stopping the player from jumping off of this catwalk. You won't take any fall damage. If you walk off the edge of a map, you can eventually reach the bottom. After reaching the bottom, Alyx's hands will fly away. If you try to use any weapons like this, the game will crash. After pushing the button on this scissor lift, Alyx's hands start to shake uncontrollably. In the developer commentary, Alireza Razumpush explains the challenges of reworking the Source Engine's entire particle system to look good in VR. The old Source 1 particles look really two-dimensional. It looks really bad in VR, especially when you tilt your head. The new Source 2 particles are much better looking by comparison. But for some reason, despite all of that effort they put into remaking the entire particle system, they still use the old Source 1 particles for a lot of the particles in the game. Even in really important chapters, you can still see the old Source 1 particles being used. This Combine soldier doesn't care if you throw objects at him. If you save and load after killing an Antlion, the Antlion will explode again. This also happens with the Strider that you kill near the end of the game. At this part of the game, there's this vent that you normally can't get into. The game won't let you use teleporting or continuous movement to get into it. But if you crouch down in real life and physically crawl your way through this vent, you'll find a Headcrab in here. And if you keep going, you'll be able to stand at this part, and there's even a resin in here. If you teleport right before going up a ladder, you will move upwards, but your position will be offset by however far you teleported. This can be used to get to some areas you're not supposed to. If you get grabbed by a barnacle while climbing a ladder, you can kill the barnacle and the game will still send you to the top of the ladder. If you teleport and die while moving up a ladder, after you load a save, the game will completely disable continuous move and continuous turn. If you try to turn these back on in the settings, it won't work. But for some reason, you can fix it by pressing any key on the keyboard. There is an invisible ledge on top of this handrail. At this part of the game, you can see two Combine turrets on the other side of this door. You can actually get to these turrets by doing some teleports on this fence and then onto this overpass. The turrets still have the same model from Half-Life 2, so they look kinda weird in this game. If you knock over one of the turrets, they have this death animation. This is the same animation that plays when the turrets die in episode 2. The physics of these turrets can cause some glitches when colliding with the player. The turrets will shoot at certain NPCs, but they won't do any damage. The only NPCs they can hurt are NPCs with a specific weak spot, like the armored Headcrab or Antlions. Although it is very, very difficult, it is possible to take this turret all the way to the vault. I'm gonna go more in depth with how I achieved this in a separate video. The back of this caution sign doesn't have a texture. This is because the model was never meant to be a physics prop. It's only meant to be mounted onto a wall. If you stack some barrels here, you can get onto this ledge before you're supposed to. And then if you backtrack a little, you can watch this Combine soldier spawn in. There's nothing stopping the player from just walking out this window. Sometimes, if you reach the edge of a map, parts of your hands and weapons will disappear. Normally, when you open this door, the Strider will explode this rubble and then start shooting at you. But if you crawl under this door instead of opening it, the Strider just stays in place while he shoots at you. If you shoot grenades into the vault's tractor beam, they won't explode. But if you shoot a grenade into another grenade, they will explode. Normally, this door will close behind you if you go through it. But if you're fast enough, you can stop the door from closing. This puts an invisible wall in this doorway. Most of these windows in this hallway have glass, but there are some that don't have any glass, and there's nothing stopping you from just jumping out the window. During the final part of the game when you meet G-Man, the game disables teleport and continuous movement, but you can still move around if you pause the game and then move and then unpause the game.
In exchange for coming all this way. Some believe the fate.
Dad? What? Is that me? What is this?
We have struggled to find a suitable replacement until now.
No! I just want to...
Wake up, Gordon. She's gone, Gordon. She's gone. We got work to do.
Normally, the game tries to take away all of your items in this room. But you can actually keep these grenades if you stash them into this hole on the ground. After you sneak them into the next map, the game tries to delete them again. but you can just do the same thing in this map by putting them into this hole. The grenades don't do any damage to G-Man. If you throw a grenade at Eli and Alyx, this happens.
Unless
What?
After shooting the advisor, the game tries to take away your items one last time. But you can still keep the grenades if you just throw them across the room first.
good. As a consequence of it, we have struggled to find a suitable place until now.
After the credits end and you wake up as Gordon, you won't have the grenades anymore.
Gordon, she's gone.
But if you hold the grenades really high in the air, they will make it into this area.
Wake up, Gordon. She's gone, Gordon. She's gone. Son of a... Wake up, Gordon. She's gone, Gordon. She's gone. Son of a bitch, it has unforeseen consequences. I knew it. When I get my hands on him, I'm gonna kill him.
Thanks for watching.